Ah! Hey guys, welcome back to another classic Cold Critiques video. Today I'm delivering you some low effort slop. Have you missed it? Today we're going to be talking about Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. I don't know, I think that's what the show's called. We're just going to refer to it as Frieren, okay? So, recently my friend showed me this show, and we watched it all the way through over several nights of being drunk and watching it and falling asleep, and it might have taken a little bit longer than it should have, but I am happy to report that the 2023 show Frieren is pretty good. It's not the greatest thing ever, but it's pretty good. Frieren is especially interesting as it's sort of this follow-up to a D&D-esque adventure, like very stereotypical classic fantasy adventure that we don't really get to see the full grasp of. We're seeing the journey afterward, beyond Journey's End. Anyway, the show is, like I said, pretty good. And Frieren, the titular character, I put her up in the corner here, but I'm too lazy to do that, is pretty good. For the most part, her arc is all kind of about learning, I wouldn't really say empathy, but learning about those she's lived her life with. Like, she lives for thousands of years, so she did this great hero thing that saved the land, beat the Demon King with her friend Himmel, Heiter, and Eisen. And she realizes at Himmel's funeral that this guy that she that he loved her, and she probably will eventually figure out that she loved him, whether it be romantic, friendship, or whatever it is. And they share a special bond, and she realizes that she didn't really know him. And the entire show is her kind of going, oh, thinking back to memories and times with him, and then going, oh, understanding her old party members a little bit more. So her arc really boils down to, to me, it boils down to maybe she did know them. And maybe that time that she spent with them has actually affected her in ways that she hasn't seen. Now, the show closes out a lot of her party members with death, except for Eisen, who's a dwarf, an older dwarf. But we kind of catch back with him later in the show. But she takes on an apprentice that belonged to one of her party mates, Heiter, and her name is Fern. She's a young mage whose parents were killed, and Heiter kind of saves. She wants to do magic because she feels like she owes Heiter. Eventually Heiter dies, and she travels with Frieren because Frieren kind of trains her for Heiter. It's great. She's cool, I guess. She's a fine character. She's very strong, very cool, interesting. There's a lot about how the magic system, how good she and Fern and Frieren are at the magic system, because they're imaginative, and they have a really great fundamental understanding of mana and magic and all that sort of stuff. It's an interesting show for the most part. But yeah, it's a fun time, but there are problems in this show. Specifically for me, I have a big issue with Eisen. Eisen is this wise dwarf guy who mentored or who traveled with Frieren, defeated the Demon King, and then later mentors this kid named Stark. And Stark is going to be this great hero. He tells Frieren all about it, and it's you should travel with him basically on your journey to heaven. And she does, and we learn through the flashbacks and through dialogue with Stark that Eisen beat him and like gave him a scar that's bigger than my big ass forehead and has like kind of like technically permanently disfigured him. And the show writes it off as, well, he was scared of the boy because he's going to be a great hero. Okay. So he hit him? Yeah, and he's like, yeah, and I regret it, and it's all sad, and like he wishes they could have parted on better terms. Okay. And then the guy is honestly kind of chill about getting his shit handed to him and beat. And I was like, okay. So he's kind of chill about being beat. He still looks up to Eisen. And honestly, I don't think the show intends for it to read like this. And I might be too media illiterate to understand what they're trying to do. But to me, the message that the show pushes to me is that you should hit your children if they can take it. Which is a pretty good message. I think we can all agree on that. Anyway, there are two, I would say, really big arcs in this show. You have the Demon arc and the First Class Mage arc. And the Demon arc is probably the best of the arcs. The Demon arc follows Frieren, Fern, and Stark all in this town that is trying to negotiate peace with the demons. And Frieren is very adamant that demons are just pure evil or whatever. And then they're kind of like, oh, well, maybe they actually do want peace. And the hope would be to see Frieren, who has kind of lived forever, kind of get humbled a little bit. At least that's what I wanted to see her do, get sort of like humbled. Like, she doesn't actually know everything. That seems like a fine story to me. She doesn't know everything. Okay. But the end goal is actually that she's completely right and all demons are evil, abhorrent monsters. So, there are no good demons. I guess it's fine. Not every character needs to have like gray and stuff. Sometimes evil people are evil and that's chill, but an entire species is entirely evil. It left me wanting a little bit of gray area from it, which did not come. And that's fine, but it feels like there's a complexity to the narrative that is missing in some of the segments, or really great concepts that feel like some of the complexity falls flat on. Obviously, the overall idea of the show of coming to terms with like life, love, beauty, understanding like how time sort of impacts you and relationships impact you is a very complex, emotional, incredibly hard to. I feel like it's very hard to have a through line of that and keep it up as consistently as Frieren does it. So to see them kind of drop the ball on like basic complexity, like even like a not all demons are bad. Like I would have taken like maybe one guy goes, hey, I actually want to do peace, and then they just like slime him out or something. But no, nothing. Feels like maybe there was something missing there. Like we could have done a little bit better. And Madhouse, famous for not doing sequels, is making Frieren Season 2. So perhaps there's some good demons along the way. Probably not, though. I feel like the story would be walking back pretty hard if it was like, actually, there are good demons. Frieren, suck it. After we taught you that there aren't good demons. But regardless, Stark and Fern in that arc are pretty good. Frieren, we learned that she like conceals her mana, which is like super cool. And the idea of concealing mana is like a really interesting kind of idea that is actually very, very interestingly followed through from that point on. Concealing mana is incredibly important. You learn a lot about characters and stuff through it. So it's a very cool introduction concept. That's like where we get some roots of magic. And then we get to the First Class Mage arc, which is where I started falling asleep in the show. The First Class Mage arc eats away at the later half of the season. And it breaks my heart to say it, but it kind of sucks for a bit of it. So the first class mage arc is split into three things, three trials. They need to be a first class mage to travel up north, and yeah, that hijinks ensues. So the first part of the first class mage thing is a basically like battle royale where they need to collect birds. If not, they get eliminated. And it's proctored by this dude that just like lets them all kill each other for fucking birds. So characters die. There's like an illusion guy and he like homeless man ninjutsus a guy and like cuts him up. That's pretty cool. Frieren like fights this guy that like lifts the fucking earth. And then you also get introduced to a lot of interesting characters like the bearded guy who has a little monocle and goes like this all the time. And when he talks, his mouth doesn't move because he's cool. He's pretty cool actually, and I really like him. He was my favorite new guy that they introduced. They introduced you to two obviously lesbian characters who do not share a kiss scene. Very disappointing. And they never reconcile their lesbian feelings for each other, which I can only imagine will be picked up, hopefully, at some point in one of the later seasons. Felt like they were going to with something there, like a romance, but they abandoned it. They kind of don't touch on romance. There's like this lingering romance between Stark and Fern and Himmel and Frieren, and they really don't do much with it, honestly, which is odd. Big gulp because I'm not editing this video. But anyway, get introduced to a lot of weird characters. There are some weird characters like this like guy who wears red and he's like schmarmy. He like really fucking wants to kill people in the first one, but then like randomly when he could kill the two lesbian girls, he's like, I'll just put you to sleep instead. After like vehemently after I can't pronounce that word. I can't pronounce my words. After disagreeing so heavily about like not killing them, he just like randomly switches up and is like, I'm actually not gonna kill you because why not? And you're like, okay, probably would have just been better to kill those guys because they don't really do much ever again. Yeah, they talk about magic and the magic system, and honestly, it's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's all fine. They introduce this like binding spell, which is cool. You also get introduced to the evil green hair girl, and evil green hair girl is she's a character. She's okay. She's probably going to be bigger in the future. She's like super obviously evil, and spoilers. Well, this whole video is spoilers, but they let her pass the entire thing. And she's just like so comedically evil and will obviously be a problem down the road that it's kind of like almost silly that in order of like first class mages that is trying to help kind of not necessarily protect the world, but I would say protect. It feels like that's what they're doing. I guess you could just say they're a course run by they're a clan run by a literal like 1,000-year-old child who just decides whatever she wants. But it feels so evil that when she does return in some major role, I won't really care about her personally because she's lame as hell, dumb as hell, and nothing was interesting about her. So whatever. Frieren, fun times with her. She fights a clone of herself, and she and Fern duo up and barely survive and win. But yeah, the first part is pretty bad. Second part is the whole like clone fighting thing that I just mentioned. They go down to this labyrinth. There's a clone. Some characters die or like disappear in there. Like there's a blonde hair guy who goes in by himself and never ever seen again, which I think is pretty funny. So I wonder if like maybe one day they'll pick up with that guy and be like, he actually lived and he's back with a vengeance. But like I don't really see them doing that. That was just funny. My sister was also watching and she said the mustache guy was All Might like 400 times, and every time he spoke, she'll go, "Hi, All Might," and that was not funny. I got tired of it. But yeah, that arc's pretty cool. We learned a lot about every character. A lot of non-important characters. Like, you get to meet the spiky blue hair guy. I guess he was probably in the first one. I don't really remember. But he's cool. Spiky blue hair guy. Cool. Frieren staff gets destroyed. Cool. They beat Evil Frieren. Cool. They pass the test. Cool. And then they get to the third arc. The second arc's actually the second part's pretty good. Like, I don't really have a lot of complaints there. Besides maybe the fact that there's a lot of, like, unnecessary not working together. But then they do work together, so it's all fine. I don't know. The whole girl thing, she, like, goes down there, the proctor does, who set this all up, and she's like, I'm a pacifist. I would never hurt a soul at all. And she knows that there's doubles down there and basically creates a double of herself, which she knows will absolutely fucking kill a ton of them. It actually doesn't kill a whole ton of them. It disqualifies like 3 of them, but she actively put herself out there so she could make a clone that would kill herself. I would argue, if I had a clone machine that I knew would clone me and make me evil, and I knew that evil clone, Elok would go after people and murder them. I would say cloning myself is not a pacifist move. I'm guilty. She did that. And she's like, but I'm pacifist. I would never hurt anyone. She's stupid. I fucking hate her. And she's hair lady. That's what I'm calling her. Because she has a lot of hair, and hair is kind of like her gimmick. And then we get to the final of the arc, which is Frieren interacting with her mentor's teacher, this wise elf that's been allowed forever, who turns out to be not an interesting character like the thing would have you think, but in fact a very plain, boring, kind of lame, childish character, which is fun. Frieren's very respectful of rules for being alive for so long, and she's like, chill, but this girl is just like a complete child, and it's like, okay, so at least we get to see some different perspectives. That's cool. She's still kind of lame, but that's cool. Yeah, she just fails like 80% of the students, though, from being first class mages. So we follow all these characters. You're like, that guy, I kind of want him to get first class mage. Guess why? He doesn't. You know why? Because that girl said no. Because you don't feel to drive. You didn't see that my mana fluctuated. You fail. What's that? You were actually instrumental to helping everyone succeed? Yeah, you fail. But she, of course, gets the psycho pass. And then gets our titular character, Frieren, a fail too. Because she doesn't like Frieren. And then bans her from magic buildings for 1,000 years, which is like super fucking funny and random. Fern passes because Frieren can predict like everything with this girl, which I think is really funny, and says like no matter what you will pass, and she does because she can detect the fluctuation of the mana, which was really cool. But then she lets everyone pass, not on the same merit, on all different merits, but I liked it. I like the people that pass, though I wish some of them pass more, because to follow, I really like the 2 lesbian girls. One of them gets out, and I thought one of them would die, and then like the other one would like carry on and be a first-class mage because of it. But to see the one get out, live, and then we have the one that gets the first-class mage, you're like, she's going to do it for both of them, or whatever. And then she literally walks in and she fails in a gag. Like, it's like a gag. There's a gag scene where she fails like half of the cast, and you're like, I guess that's realistic. I don't know. It's an okay arc. Wraps up fine with Frieren fixing Fern's staff, and they head out to the north with an interesting little memory reveal at the end. And they've started on their 10-year journey, which I think they've only made a few months in, which can only make me think that Frieren is going to last like 50 seasons, which I don't think Madhouse will do. And the manga is only on chapter 140, so we've got to start picking up pace. Though, I don't know if Madhouse will work on the entirety of the thing. Animation's beautiful. Just gonna say that. Animation's beautiful. Music, top notch. Low key. If you're still here for whatever reason, check out the Frieren soundtrack. And if you don't check out Frieren too. It's pretty good. I recommend it, especially to D&D people who are kind of thinking about like, hey, what comes next after my story? Look into this. It's pretty fun. Anyway, have a good night. I hope you enjoy your Shlop for the next probably year. If you want cool critiques updates, open the Letterboxd account. I guess I've had one, but like it's on my Instagram. I'll link it in my YouTube, I guess. I'm just gonna start putting my reviews. So if you're curious what I have to say about something before it comes out in a video form like this, and sure, go ahead, check there. I'm gonna probably make 2 videos today. One about kind of like what I'm gonna do with the channel going forward as a Shlop Live kind of YouTuber in the vein of Dolan and Pyrocynical. So enjoy the tasty Shlop you've had, and I don't know, live or something.